Well, hello there. Welcome to Dimos Intuitive Arts Reflections for Real Life. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. This is a place and a space where we would like to just spend a little time, put a pause on your day, and give you something to reflect upon. And we do that through using some visual arts sometimes, some poems, some stories. And even as we move forward, because we're still fairly new to this YouTube platform, we'd also like to offer out some talks with some very, very special people. So those are all things that we wanted to give you a heads up about. Today, I'm going to be using the work of a wonderful artist named Joan Mitchell, not to be confused with Joni Mitchell, but equally as wonderful. And Joan Mitchell was a visual artist who was born in Chicago in 1925. And the reason I chose her and one of her pieces of work called Hemlock, which she did in 1956, was because it captured some things that I feel are very human. And those are the qualities that I look for in artwork when I bring them to you so that we can reflect a little bit more deeply in ourselves. So, Joan Mitchell was part of a movement in America. Even though she was born in Chicago, she wound up in New York, and she was part of a movement called the Abstract Expressionists. So, she came into contact with some very historic people, people whose names you might know, like Willem de Kooning and Franz Klein and Jackson Pollock, right? So the thing that she did differently, though, was that instead of creating abstractions that had enclosed spaces with lines, she used those lines to capture movement and sometimes intense movement. And she used them in a way that was creating marks. And I love this idea of marks because mark making is how we leave our mark on the world. So, this reflection today is all about asking you what kinds of marks are you making in the world to capture who you are? And it's okay if they're intense and it's okay if they're calm. So, this piece of artwork is called Hemlock, and it's done in, again, 1956. She has a very, very distinct palette of colors. That means there's not too much variation going on. And if you look closely at it, you'll see some of the lines are vertical, some of them, few, are horizontal. And then there are some which just sort of take on a life of their own and they sort of vibrate to the eye. And as you're looking at this piece, I'd like you to think about what this makes you feel like and offering out a thought about how these marks might lend themselves to you thinking about if you were a particular kind of weather, what would you be? Because when I looked at this painting, it happened to be right after a pretty severe windstorm, and I was actually absorbing and observing the movement of the trees in my backyard. So I started to think about this concept, like if I was a weather pattern or if I was some kind of weather, what would I be as a human being? So I offer that out to you as a suggestion for reflection. So as you're looking at this, I'd also like you to think about the feeling that it evokes. If you are feeling a weather pattern within yourself where you're very chaotic and very energetic, that energy is going to be coming out from you onto the people you come into contact with, whether they are your partners, your professional peers, or your kids, even, right? And is that precisely the kind of weather pattern that you want to have coming out of you energetically? Likewise, there are parts of this that are very calm. And I suggest that you really look at the movement of certain lines. Even though they are severe and intentional in some ways, they also have a calm, flowing movement. So perhaps those are things that you're experiencing too in the weather pattern of your choice. So, in a traditional sense, this is not a calm painting. It does have movement, it does have tension, it has energy. And the marks really do make me at least feel like weather. And I also was interested in it because it's about what I carry inside. Sometimes doesn't look very calm or very neat. Sometimes it's very, very intense and tangled, and it's layered. And sometimes it's really hard to explain, very much like this particular painting. So Joan Mitchell doesn't smooth this piece out for us, and she doesn't make it very polite. She lets it move. And maybe that's very much what I would like us to try to remember, that not every one of our feelings can be immediately resolved, nor should they. And some things need to move through us before they start to make any sense. Try not to over dramatize those feelings that you feel inside if they feel like some sort of weather. Don't suppress them, observe them, sit with them, and just notice them. We use that ideology a lot in our yoga practices too. Kind of observe things that come up for you and then let them float away. Sit with them for a while, sit with them for as long as you like to. The most important takeaway, though, is let things happen, let things be experienced, but just don't let them completely encompass you, hold on to you, destabilize you, and incapacitate you. Let things just flow through, very much like the energy and the energetic lines that you see in this piece by Joan Mitchell. Have an absolutely wonderful day. If you have anything to share with us, we'd love to hear it. Please feel free to comment and go to our website, Dimos Intuitive Arts, where you'll find workshops that we're offering and also an opportunity to connect with us via email. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Use that energy, figure out what kind of weather you are inside, and bring it out to the world. Have a great one.